Alright, looks like I'm streaming. Welcome, folks. It is day 14 of Inktober. Still going strong, nearly halfway through. Today's prompt is clock. Definitely gave some serious thought to someone clocking someone with a punch. Ended up deciding I felt like drawing Doctor Who has all sorts of stuff to do with time and clocks, and specifically I'm drawing sort of a clockwork robot back here. Hey, Spider Boy. Hello, Jonathan. Glad that I've got some folks joining me tonight. I know it's kind of late. Very grateful to have folks with me. That's awesome. That's really awesome. So let me start by actually working on a few features this time instead of maybe just the big thick outlines. See where this goes. And then we'll reassess, take it from there. Let's see. Chrissy, hello. Mandela Butterfly says, who? This is the 10th Doctor. David Tennant played him. Doctor Who. Let's see. Juan says, love your channel. Well, that's very kind of you. And Christian Garcia says, I'm here early. Well, very, very nice. Thank you. That is really cool to see so many folks here. I know it's late, so I didn't necessarily expect it. You know what? Let me see what I've got here to draw with. Is this a brush? This is a brush. I sort of feel like drawing one quick thing is like sort of a warm-up because I just don't feel ready, and some of that's tiredness, but some of it's just I just feel like I need to loosen up a little, so just sort of gonna draw something else real quick. This is just gonna be silly and loose. And then we'll continue with my real episode. I'm just drawing a silly character from something. Hopefully in a little bit you guys will recognize it. How's everybody doing? Anybody else work on a cool sort of illustration today for Inktober maybe? Looks like Rick and Morty or something. Oh, Finite Joy might have it. I don't know how many of y'all watch Rick and Morty. I'm a big fan of Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland, so yeah, that's what I just felt like drawing right now, just to loosen up, warm up. Alright, that's good. I feel a little looser. It's Slow Mobius. Alright, so there's a quick sketch, just for the hell of it. Just wanted to loosen up. Obviously, that's pretty silly stuff. Now let me pick back up what I was really going to draw. And now I feel a little warmer. What kind of pen are you using, if I may ask? This one is just, what's this called? This is called a Tradio. I don't know. This is just some sort of a unique brush pen that I got in Japan. It looks like it's manufactured by Pentel, and it was 500 yen, so about $5, I guess. Right around there. Yeah, sometimes just drawing something like light to sketch, whatever you feel like, just can like loosen up your hand so that it doesn't feel too tight. That was a really small warm-up. Usually you might do something with like a few more lines and circles or something. It really can help you feel like you're more in control of your pen because you've just been moving it around a little bit and your hand feels right for it. And then you can also do something called cool downs, like just sort of drawing whatever you feel like drawing after you've been working for a while. Can help you sort of decompress from whatever you've been working on. So warming up and cooling down is definitely a fantastic tool to producing the best results possible. Feeling comfortable and confident with whatever you're doing. Today was a decent day at work. Sold a car, made a lot of coworkers laugh, so that felt good. It was a little quiet, but I did all right. So yeah, it was a good day. Just tired. Obviously been going, trying to do both Inktober and my regular comic tropes episodes. Let's see. As your live stream ended, Peter David tweeted, "It was the Spider Boy's fault." Okay, I guess I missed something. All right, Jack Jones, Milosh is here, Mitchell, Lance Brock. Jonathan says, "What's my favorite Frank Miller series?" Daredevil, probably his Born Again story. Yeah. Big fan of Born Again. What else we got for questions? I'll take a look in just a second here. Just banging out a couple facial details that'll sort of shape the way I go with this. Really want to get his hair right. That's important to me. I know that sounds weird, but that's what I want to do. That's what I'm in the mood for. All right, let's see. Quinn London and David Porter are here. Javon Miles, Shelley Ingle. Do you watch the latest episode of Doctor Who? No, unfortunately, I don't have TV these days. I don't have cable, so I haven't seen the latest. I'd love to. Yeah, I did hear that Diversity in Comics is suing Mark Waid. He'll definitely lose that one, in my opinion. That's a weird lawsuit, but it's probably just designed for publicity, not for getting the actual result. At least I assume. From everything I read, Mark Waid, provided a professional opinion, and since he's been an editor and a publisher, I don't think that I think you'd have to go a long way to proving that that's tortious interference in somebody's deal. So I really don't think that, and hey, I'm not a lawyer, so I could easily be wrong. But I'm also not a dumb guy, and I don't think that lawsuit has any legs. That's my 2 cents. Let's see. Do you think Colin Farrell is really that bad as Bullseye? I don't think he's bad. He's kind of funny. That movie wasn't 100% sure what it wanted to be, that Daredevil movie. It was funny in parts and deadly serious in others, and so tonally I feel like it was kind of all over the place. But I don't blame Colin Farrell for the performance he gave. I think Colin Farrell's capable of some really amazing performances and stuff like, I don't know, we'll say The Lobster or In Bruges, so he's a good actor. Hey Shirley, let's see, my favorite Doctor was Tom Baker. Sure, absolutely. He was great. Let's see, Deadpool, Deathstroke, or Deadshot? Deathstroke. Totally Deathstroke. I like Deathstroke, the Terminator. I think that's an interesting character. I like when those stories are done well. Hey Sigamigs. Let's see, director's cut of Daredevil salvages the film for sure. Yeah, I owned that for a while, and then I was like, you know what? Even though this is definitely better, it's still not really good. Just my opinion. Also, like, Daredevil's costume keeps changing throughout that movie because they couldn't decide whether they wanted to have him wear like a hat or a full cowl, and they filmed it both ways for different scenes. Yeah, it's not very consistent. Not very consistent. So anyway, not my personal favorite superhero movie. There are definitely far worse out there, but not my favorite. Alright, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies are fantastic, but people keep hating on it because the suit wasn't in the new game. I'm not joking. Oh, really? I love the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Yeah, good performances, good costumes, good special effects, good story. I mean, obviously 3 is a big dip in quality, but I still feel that it wraps things up as a trilogy in a pretty good way. Not perfect, but I still preferred it to the Amazing Spider-Man movies that followed. But you know what? That's just my opinion. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Your mileage may vary. One of my coworkers at the end of the day was asking me what I thought the worst movie of all time was, or what are some examples of really bad movies. And I forget exactly what he was mentioning, but they were just like average movies, like forgettable, like not good, but like not egregiously terrible. And he was like, Sharknado, and I'm like, no, Sharknado knows what it's doing. It's intentionally bad, which is different. Oh, wow. First of all, let me interrupt this story by saying thank you to Mandela Butterfly. Always appreciate a super chat. Thanks for making my October awesome. Hey, you're making my October awesome. So thanks for having my back on that. That's really awesome. I was going to say, so I was telling him about movies like Mac and Me and Hard Ticket to Hawaii. And he hadn't heard of either of these because he's a lot younger than me. He's only in his 20s. And I showed him clips of like the Mac and Me McDonald's dance scene, and then Hard Ticket to Hawaii, where the good guys use their rocket launcher to blow up the assassin skateboarder, and it seemed to blow his mind. I was like, oh yeah, there's some really bad movies out there that thought that they were doing a good job. That's what makes it funny. Not just getting it wrong, but you can just like tell that they're sort of trying for something cool, and they just missed. They just missed. I love stuff like Troll 2. That's a pretty good one. Where you're like, oh, everybody involved really was giving it their all. They thought that they were going to produce something really memorable and entertaining. That's kind of what makes the result funny to me. Just my sense. Let's see. Ooh, Guy Fella says, I actually saw Battlefield Earth in theaters. Ooh, that sounds bad. That sounds rough. Sorry to hear you didn't like David Tennant, J. Andrew World. He totally works for me. I really like David Tennant's Doctor a lot. Spidey Nation says, what do you think of classic Spidey, like when Stan was writing it? Do you think it still holds up? I think a lot of it does, yeah. I mean, and honestly, I think it was mostly, at a certain point, Steve Ditko writing it, but like Stan on the dialogue for sure. Yeah, I think it holds up quite well. The sort of way that kids will talk with like their slang is terrible, but the characterizations are pretty darn good, I think. There's some really wonderful moments in there that help define who all those characters are and where they're going. You know, set them up on a path, and I think one of the things that made Spider-Man especially memorable as a comic book was, you know, it was a soap opera, and it did allow for a long time characters to change. You know, Flash Thompson kind of became a pretty good guy after a while, and Harry Osborn went through a lot of troubles, but you know, stayed pretty good and noble for most of that run, and Peter goes through some growing up, and then it sort of peters out, and it starts to become a little bit like the writers hit the reset button. But that was somewhere more in the by the 70s. In the 60s, you know, Marvel didn't know that they were gonna like stick around forever, and I feel that like if you go back and read, you know, the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man and Iron Man, Hulk, that the stories are a little more experimental and throw things at the wall to see what sticks. That you know, they're allowing characters to get killed off, and they're allowing characters to sort of grow and have different opinions, and it's not like especially deep or anything, but at the same time it's quite different from what it became. Quinn London mentions Nilbog. What's my favorite superhero movie? Oh, that's an interesting question. What's my favorite superhero movie? It might be Dark Knight. Jack Jones says it's a pretty good drawing. Okay, thanks. Favorite Robin? I would say Tim Drake. I just sort of grew up with him as Robin, and Dick Grayson as whatchamacallit, Nightwing. So that's more of what I know, and I like that. All right. I hope everybody's doing pretty well these days. Having a good October. If you need to vent about something, you can do that. Just keep in mind that I'm primarily looking at what's happening on this piece of paper in front of me, so I'm not catching absolutely everything in the chat. As long as everybody understands that, I think we're good. Alright, let's see. October is midterms, so no, not having the best time. I remember going through that. Yeah. Weird. Did I like Civil War 2? I made 2 episodes about it, so I think my opinions have been pretty well fleshed out. The short answer is no, I did not care for Civil War 2. But for exactly why it didn't work for me, I did make some episodes. I don't really feel like rehashing it. I feel free to check those out. Alright, I'm going to switch over to a brush for a little bit for this hair, and let's see if there's a good question. Frankenfran, interesting. I haven't heard of that one. That sounds like an interesting read. Thoughts on Iron Fist cancellation? You know what? I think someone did mention that last night, or asked me. I mean, but I'm not surprised. I am kind of disappointed. I thought about it, and you know what? I legit think that Iron Fist had the best second season of any Netflix show. Big improvement. Big improvement. It was shorter. It was more focused. They improved the fight scenes, which was important. They had a good villain and good mythology. And yeah, it's disappointing because it ended on a really awesome cliffhanger of like where a bunch of different stuff could go. I hope that they consider sort of doing a show along the lines of Heroes for Hire so that they can keep playing up those ideas, but we'll see. That would be nice, but you never know. I'll darken his hair a fair amount in here. I think that would be more or less in all shadow. So I'll throw in some good blacks in here. Probably threw out most of his hair, to be honest. Just have some highlighted stuff. I mean, this doctor has brown hair, but since I'm mostly drawing in black and white, I'm going to push it a little further than I would go if I was counting on some good digital coloring later. And push the contrast a little bit. Do you think that like there's any artists out there that like do a really good job on their drawing and they're like, Kobe? I like the idea of somebody doing anything, like accomplishing anything and just shouting out, Kobe! People used to do that all the time, at least back in the day, whenever they'd like toss something into the wastebasket, you know, Kobe! But I've adapted it to be anything like that you're doing, including drawing or punching your time card, who knows. All sorts of things that you could shout Kobe for. Flushing the toilet, Kobe! So I work tomorrow. I think it's the morning shift again so that I can start this at a semi-reasonable hour, and then I've got some days off, so my goal is to try to live stream a lot earlier in the day, sort of bang that out, and then get on with my day. But let's see, today's Sunday, so at least Tuesday morning I'm probably going to be sleeping in because I'm severely sleep deprived at this point. So need to catch up just a bit on sleep, but then after I wake up, hopefully by noon or something, I'm ready to live stream on Tuesday. That's my current goal. We'll see how that goes. And yeah, hopefully that gives me access to some different viewers, which should be fun. But I really do appreciate everybody joining in, asking questions and stuff, especially since it's so late. See you, Quinn. Let's see. Yeah, I heard that Chuck Wendig got fired. That's too bad. Hey, Crits, how do I feel about the Patriots and Red Sox winning tonight? I feel great. Originally from Boston, I am a fan of both teams. I don't have TV, but I was following like updates on my phone to the side here. So if you saw right when I started, I was sort of glancing to the side. I was looking for the scores on the Patriots game. And so yeah, obviously happy, especially about the Sox. But yeah, they're both important to me. So how do I feel about that? Makes me feel good, actually. Can't claim that I'm the biggest sports nut in the world, but I am a fan of my teams, and I do follow them, and yeah, it makes me feel happy. What do you think of Khalid Nassour as Dr. Fate? Is that an actor? I don't know who that is. Am I happy that Dan Slott's hooks in Spider-Man are finally over, or did you like what he did with the title? I guess I didn't read his entire run, but I definitely liked, I liked Into the Spider-Verse. I liked Superior Spider-Man. I liked what he did once, Spider-Man had Parker Industries up and running. Yeah, I liked a lot of what he did, to be honest. Yeah, actually, I was a fan, I would say, of what Dan Slott did. I would put him up there, probably like top 3 to 5 Spider-Man writers, personally. Michelini, I never know exactly how to pronounce his name. He'd definitely be up there. That's the guy that I read the most growing up. The Ditko, Stan Lee stuff, and then probably Slott. That would probably be my list of favorite Spider-Man sort of writers and stories. Whoa, thanks, Keith. That's so cool. That's so cool. Thank you. Khalid is one of the more recent people to wear the helmet of fate. Okay. So it's a fictional character. I was like, good, because I don't know that actor's name. Haven't read it. Sorry, haven't read Dr. Fate in quite a while, I guess. So I didn't know that that's what's up right now. But you know what? He can't be worse than the 90s version of Fate with that like terrible metallic armor and knife. Like just melted the Fate helmet down and had that Ankh tattoo. Oh boy, just too much 90s extreme. I didn't think that was the coolest take on things. Yeah, I wish I could be more up to date on like all the modern superhero stuff, but money is pretty tight, I have to admit, and so I can't really read it all right now. If the channel ever took off and I was able to do it full time, and that's probably not realistic, but if that happened, then I would, in addition to doing comic tropes, probably do some sort of small weekly mini reviews of what my opinions are on what's come out, and I would get more comics and talk about that. But it's not a very realistic thing for right now, so yeah. Whoa, what just happened here? Okay, some super chats. So let me address these. Let's see. Spidey Nation says, "What's your favorite style of Spider's costume?" My favorite is the classic red and blue by Ditko, including like the webbing under the arms, sort of nimble and stuff. Yeah, that's my favorite. Second favorite is just the black and white costume. I think it looks amazing. I think the black suit is fantastic. Very iconic. But there's so many good Spider-Man suits that, like, yeah, I love all the Spider-Man costumes that he's got at this point. That would be a blast to like sort of have action figures of all of them or something. I'm a huge fan of the Gwen Stacy design. I think that like, you know, what are they calling her these days? Ghost Spider, but like Spider Gwen. That's a fantastic costume. One of the best modern superhero costumes in terms of just design. Like, it's fantastic. It's so iconic and well done. I love the hoodie. Let's see. Prisoners of Gravity. Yes, see, Kim, I watched some of Harlan Ellison and Alan Moore. I watched some of both of those. Pretty good stuff. Definitely guys that you don't get to see interviewed too much. So that was new for me. Thank you very much for the recommend. Prisoners of Gravity, folks, was a, I believe, Canadian TV show. Probably like early 90s or possibly late 80s, and it was interviewing comic book writers and creators, and it's not bad. You can find it on YouTube. Not bad at all. Let's see. Oh, did I miss something? Let me just check back here. Let's see. Prisoners of Gravity. Oh, just $2. Okay, thank you, Drew. That's really kind of you. Have I ever had a crush on a fictional character? No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe when I was really little, I briefly, for like the day or something, did, but nothing jumps to mind there. Sorry. That would be funny and interesting, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Spidey says, "You said money is tight. Well, hope this helps." It absolutely does. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. You know, I basically, when I started my channel, it was because I had been downsized out of a job. And that job and the lifestyle that my fiance and I were used to was one that, like, you know, paid really good money. I was just used to being very comfortable. And it's taken quite a bit of adjustment to get used to just being in a very different type of position, and that's fine too. And these days, you know, we're trying to be way more frugal. You know, we canceled cable and a bunch of like extra sort of services and things like that. We have internet, obviously, so that I can do this. I don't get comics regularly. I don't buy video games really or anything like that. I mean, I still get stuff here and there, but like very little in terms of entertainment. We don't eat out much. You know, I'm just trying to explain, like, these are things that we did used to do. We did used to do. All right, obviously I'm tired if I'm talking all weird like that. But my only point is just that we had a certain lifestyle and we've made adjustments and we're living within our means, but money's tight in terms of doing anything sort of extra. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to someday where maybe I can get back ahead, sort of be a little more used to, or find myself in a place where I'm closer to what I was used to. But you know, I'm glad I started the channel when I did. It was something I needed to keep me busy and to keep me, like, you know, positive. And I really think that it has helped in a lot of ways. There can be times when you know, I'm still stressed out. Of course there are. But I think that the channel helps a lot. It's pretty cool. It's gives me a project that I can feel pretty good about, and it keeps me very, very busy. Keeps me very busy. And now I'm at like a place where, you know, I'm working full time. It doesn't pay nearly what I used to, but you know, it's enough to pay the bills. But I lost my train of thought. I totally lost my train of thought. That just shows how tired I am. Damn. I did have a point. Whew. Oh well. Couldn't have been that important if I can forget it. Favorite Spawn artist? I don't know. I guess McFarlane. Yeah. Who else would it be? Shelly says, I haven't read comic books for a while, but I used to read when I was a little girl. Well, comics are awesome, and the cool thing about it is that there's so many different kinds of stories, you know, and it doesn't all have to be superheroes. There's all kinds of stories for all kinds of ages and interests, and that's what I love most about comic books is how versatile they are as a storytelling medium, and how much pleasure I think pretty much anyone can get out of becoming a fan of comics. There's a lot. It's just amazing what you can do with them. Wow, cool. Thank you, Richard. That's so nice. Can't wait till you look at Tim Truman's work, or Timothy Truman. No more trips to Japan, says Uncanny Kodiak. Well, yeah, that was a certain expense for sure. There was good reason to do it, and we were as frugal as possible. You know, we booked that thing many months in advance when I was still working a full-time job, and we stayed at like Airbnbs instead of just, you know, really nice bougie hotels. But at the same time, yeah, it's expensive to do international travel. And a good example of cutting that travel out is we always went to New York every single year to go to New York Comic Con, and I didn't this year. You know, just trying to be responsible with my money, pay down debt, and get to a position where what would be nice is if I could, like, you know, pay down my debt, then I could like get some nice equipment for the show. I'd really love to invest my personal funds in getting some nicer things there. So I think that'll happen. I think that I'll get to that place before too long. So anyway, that's some of what's going on with me. Probably way more than you cared about, so maybe I overshared. What else? There was a pilot for an American Doctor Who show. Yep. What field did you used to work? Marketing. Marketing. Specifically, like, you know, just coming up with advertising, branding campaigns, coming up with social media plans, developing content for channels like that. Doing a good amount of the graphic design for all sorts of stuff myself early on, but as my career progressed, while I love that stuff, it sort of became more planning and business management, account management, stuff like that. So yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll be able to get back to that sometime soon. Still sort of looking. Haven't really found any wonderful options around here. When I accepted the position that moved me out here, you know, I did know that there was a little bit of a risk in terms of I don't know that many folks out here in the Seattle area, so I don't have the same sort of networking capabilities. That's why, I'm working a blue-collar job now, which is fine. Some really wonderful people that I'm working with, and yeah. What do you think about Steve Pugh's work? Oh, hilarious. I'm a big fan. I love Sam and Max. Sam and Max is great. Is that the right artist? I think I'm thinking of the right one. I'm excited when you take a look at Darwin Cook. Definitely see Kim. Definitely excited as well. Big fan. I want to do right by Darwin because his work was impressive, and I think he was a wonderful person. I was so glad that I got to meet him. I just want to do that episode. I want to do right by Darwin. So we shall see. Anyone watching any shows these days that are good? I don't have cable, but I do still have Netflix. So I really want to see Maniac and The Haunting of Hill House. I've heard good things about both of those. And of course, we're just days away from getting more Daredevil. Not sure if I'm going to be able to really have time to fit in sort of an extra episode about something like Born Again. But someday I'll talk about like the work of David Mazzucchelli or Mazzucchelli. I'm not 100% sure how that's pronounced, to be honest. And I'm looking forward to that opportunity. Great artist. Master, really. Daredevil and Punisher and Altered Carbon and Lost in Space. Oh, that's what you're watching. I'm waiting for End of the Effin' World Season 2. You like how I censored myself there? The Toys That Made Us is good. I agree. Yep, saw all those. You should have drawn him holding the device in his hand. You talking about like the sonic screwdriver? Could have. Feel like it's been done. Didn't really need to, but it's not a bad idea. Will Thanos Chopper appear in Avengers 4? Well, it's an excellent question. Jokes are funny. Will the Thanos Copter appear in the next Avengers movie? And you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to take a very controversial stand and argue no, it might not. Maybe Marvel doesn't know what's good for them, but I don't think that they're going to. I don't think they're going to include it. I know, it's crazy. But hey, at least I reviewed it, right? The Thanos Copter. It's so funny to see like a villain like Thanos that was definitely not top tier when he was originally introduced, and so he was in just sort of run-of-the-mill stories that like most villains end up in, and now of course he's just one of the absolute biggest villains in Marvel. So you go back and look at some of his early stories and they just don't seem to fit. What's your favorite Avengers? When you say that, Shelley, are you talking like of the 3 movies? Or are you talking about the comic book? I'd be curious exactly what you mean there. How about the Spider-Mobile? The Spider-Mobile was goofy but charming. Goofy but charming. That could be how my YouTube show could be described. Goofy but charming. I should be so lucky that it's described as such. I get plenty of words the other way. But obviously I get a lot more positive than negative. A lot more. And that's really exciting. It's really nice when something you work on, spend a lot of time on, resonates with people. It's a good feeling. Sometimes I wonder if comic books are the one field where everyone that reads them and enjoys them wants to make them themselves. I really do wonder. Oh, okay. Shelley says she meant Avengers in the Marvel universe. Okay, so just characters then in the movies. Um, Geez, they've kind of included pretty much all of their heroes as Avengers in a way. But I'm a big fan of what they've done with Captain America. I think that he's honest and noble, and yet like not a boring vanilla nerd or anything. So I really like what they've done with Captain America. They gave Iron Man way more of a personality than he had in the comics up until the movies. And in some ways, Tony Stark isn't really evolving. He's still sort of a sarcastic jerk, but he goes through like moments of self-awareness. And I do think that he's overall very charming. But in terms of like some of what I've seen, like in the sort of newer stuff or newer characters, I really do like what they've done with Vision and with Black Panther, and I'd love to see more Ant-Man actually. What do you feel the next storyline the MCU will be adapting? I can't help but think it's Secret Wars would be a great way to introduce FF and X-Men. I do think that there's an excellent chance that the Skrulls will continue to be a big part. Look, I think that Marvel may have almost accidentally been lucky enough to back into that situation because they've established the Kree as kind of assholes in things like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And it looks like now we'll get the Skrulls. So I really do feel that like a Skrull invasion possibly leading up to the Kree-Skrull War could definitely be the next sort of overall arc in the movies. I think that might be the most likely. And after that, they may be in a position where they'd like to, if they want to keep it sort of going and not reboot it, who knows, because that could be so far down the road now. I do feel like they might have an opportunity to sort of set Doctor Doom up as something, whether that's, who knows, Acts of Vengeance or maybe a more recent storyline or Dark Reign or who knows. But like I think that they might try to introduce Doctor Doom as a potential enemy for everybody, even though he's also directly tied to the Fantastic Four. I think that there's a strong possibility there. But you know what? I say all that, and here's the big question mark is, obviously Marvel's thinking of doing these movies based on the Eternals, and it's like, wow, wait, the Eternals? That's a where'd that come from? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a question mark in my mind, because the Eternals isn't bad, but it also doesn't really have a lot of big, deep connections to the Marvel Universe in general. There's not tons of stories with Icarus, and Cersei really was just sort of a supporting character in Avengers for a long time, just not really a main character per se. So there's not a lot to say based on the comics. Who knows? We'll see. Does Sony own the black suit? Well, Sony owns everything to do with Spider-Man, so they have to want to keep playing with the MCU, if they want to, but it's up to them. They could basically, back out almost tomorrow, and just do their own Spider-Man movies again, like with Amazing and stuff like that. They could always do that. Spider-Man is basically on loan to Marvel movies. Which is strange, but it's also really strange to think that the Fantastic Four are, or at least have forever, not been with, you know, Marvel itself, because, you know, some people will say like Captain America is the most Marvel character, but really I think that Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four best represent everything about the Marvel Comics universe. And that stuff like Captain America or the X-Men are kind of secondary. They're very important and they've been popular at times, but like the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man sort of define where the comics have gone up until now and seem to basically still be positioned to do so. And in a lot of ways, they're the most unique Marvel creations, you know? The personalities and stuff of Iron Man and Thor and Captain America are very well defined, but Super Soldier and Armored Guy and Powerful God, those are very sort of generic types of characters that have appeared in plenty of other comic publishers' works. And Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four are very, well, they're at least the most successful versions of who those character types are. Drew asks, who likes Namor? You know what? I like Namor. And I don't know how you can make Namor likable, though, after Secret Wars, because he flat out allied himself with the Cabal and was willing to like kill other universes, and I think that that's just so ruthless. I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time trying to find a way to come back from that level of evilness. I don't know. I don't know what we could do to sort of consider Namor a flat-out hero again. I don't know. But I also worried that they couldn't really rehabilitate Tony Stark after the first Civil War comic, and I guess eventually they sort of did. So what do I know? I think it is important, though, honestly, to also let certain comics go, or certain comic stories go, because you're not going to like everything. But if you're locked into the mindset of like everything in continuity is real, well, these characters are fictional and they're written by lots of different types of people. So I feel like if you like the character, you've really liked certain versions of that character, and you just have to sort of pick and choose what you like about that character's history when they've been around this long in a serialized story. I don't think that's a big deal to do that. Like, I can pick up and drop superhero stories these days. I'll just be like, yeah, this title isn't speaking to me. But I don't feel like that ruins the character, because I can still go back and like read the stories that I really like, and that's not a big deal to me. Maybe it is to some people. I don't know, but it isn't to me. Chris Evans can play both the Human Torch and Cap, because why not? Hey, Chris Evans has played a lot more comic book characters than just those two. Let's think. I mean, he was in Scott Pilgrim. He was in The Losers. He was in the CG Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What else? I mean, he's been in a lot of comic book movies. He's played a lot of characters. But at this point, there have been so many MCU movies that a lot of people have played more than one character in a Marvel movie. You know, like Volstagg is played by a guy that was the Punisher, and so on and so forth. Like, you could come up with like a dozen people who've played different roles within Marvel. Just Marvel, not even going like DC and Marvel. Let's see, how long have I been going tonight? Oh, wow, close to an hour already. Do you think Avengers 4 will base on Earth X? No, I don't think so. I think it'll basically just be an extended sort of riff on Infinity Gauntlet type stories, possibly mixed with Avengers Forever, which was a title by Kurt Busiek with, I want to say Carlos Pacheco was the artist, but I could be wrong on the artist. And it was sort of like a group of Avengers from different sort of timelines going on a journey against Kang the Conqueror. I don't think Kang the Conqueror is the villain, but I do think that potentially they'll grab a bunch of Avengers from different sort of points in the MCU's history, like, you know, past, present, and future. I think that's a possibility, and that they could like sort of go on an adventure, because I do think that time is going to play into undoing at least some of what Thanos accomplished. We'll see. I'm going to miss Chris after Avengers 4 comes out. What? What do you mean miss me? I'm not going to die. Let's see. Shinoblin says, hello, big fan of your artwork. I'm an artist myself. Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you so much for the kind words. If you were to cast Hugh Jackman as a different hero, which would you pick? Oh, that's a cool question, Django. I mean, he did a great job on Wolverine. Like, I can't imagine anybody having done a better job. Who would I cast him as now? I mean, he's significantly older. It's been like 20 years. Let's see, who's an older, wiser superhero? I don't know. I guess Professor X is who I cast. No, that's a challenging question. Oh, you'll miss Chris Evans after Avengers 4. Yes. Well, that does make more sense. Mr. Whiskers. There you go. Care Bear Comics figured it out. We're going to cast Hugh Jackman as Mr. Whiskers. Honestly, nothing leaps to me immediately. But also, I think that once you've played like one of the most important superheroes, it's probably not going to happen again anytime soon, because you're just too associated with that character. You know, like if the Fantastic Four movies had been more popular, there's no way Chris Evans would be Captain America. But now that he's been Captain America, we're not going to see him play another notable superhero until he's maybe, you know, an older man or something. It's just not going to happen. Anyway, oh, I know another comic book movie Chris Evans did, Snowpiercer. So he's done a lot of comic book movies. A lot. Probably more than anyone else. I mean, first you've got him playing Human Torch twice, and then Captain America, what, like, I guess 7 main movies? And then when you start adding in stuff like Scott Pilgrim and Snowpiercer and TMNT and The Losers, like, yeah, he'll have played, like, probably the most comic book characters ever. Dude is probably going to be a little tired of playing comic book characters. But you never know when a great role could come along from like an indie story or something. I think Jackman's replacement should actually be short, preferably Canadian. Django says Hugh Jackman is Craven. No question, he could do a fantastic job at that. That would totally work. Shelley says, I'd love to see Kit Harington as Wolverine and Henry Cavill as Cyclops. But that's a pretty big age difference. Like, that's a much older Cyclops than Wolverine, isn't it? I feel like that's close to 10 years. I don't know. Maybe. Brandon Routh was also Superman and a character in Scott Pilgrim. Yeah, and he also plays the Atom on all those Arrowverse shows. So he's also done. And he did Dylan Dog. Dylan Dog is a Italian comic book. So Brandon Routh has also played several comic book characters. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's not bad. The audience can't tell if someone's Canadian. Well, we all know Ryan Gosling is Canadian, right? I mean, some celebrities are just sort of known for being where they're from, so I think that's the only argument. I think it would be more important to cast Wolverine as a Canadian if he was created by a Canadian. I mean, he's written as a Canadian, but it's not like a Canadian created him to be, a famous character. It wasn't homebrewed exactly. Obviously, there have been Canadians that have worked on Wolverine, but like Len Wein and Dave Cockrum or whoever it was, pretty sure that's who it was, they weren't Canadian. Routh is also the Atom. Yep. Yes, he plays the Atom. Let's see, Russell Duffer. I don't think I saw you before. K3M15A. Hugh Jackman is Batman. Sure, yeah. Guyfella says Wolverine should be sorry. Sorry. I think that the most important thing is that Wolverine drink milk out of a bag. If he can go into the convenience store and get milk in a bag, then I think that we'd all be happy. We'd say, yes, that's an authentic Wolverine. That's what I needed out of the character. If you can put him in a nice toque, great. But I think the milk in the bag is definitely going to be the most important element. So that's on the writers. They got to get it right. That is on the writers. Christian Bale was also British, so why not? No, I believe Christian Bale is actually Welsh, if I remember correctly, which isn't... I don't think that's the same as British. Have I read the Bone comics? Absolutely. Yeah, huge fan of them. Jeff Smith is fantastic. That would be an interesting series or creator to discuss at some point, for sure. That would be interesting. Big fan. What he accomplished there. Big fan of whenever somebody just wants to tell their own unique story and can do it pretty much 100% on their own terms. That's always impressive. My middle school had milk in a bag. Hey, there you go. Wolverine should wear a boot and not a big shoe. Yep, of course he should. Wales is technically a separate country. Not just technically, it is. I've been there. Sheldon says, sorry, can't stay. I have to catch the rest of this tomorrow. Good night, y'all. Well, thank you for dropping in. And, you know, again, if I don't catch your comment or your question, I apologize. I hope you understand that obviously I need to look at this a lot in order to have actual content so that we can all sort of even have a show. So hopefully that's all good with everybody. But, you know, I'm not ignoring anybody. I want that to be clear. I'm definitely never ignoring anybody. It's not something I do. Christian Bale could probably play anything. Yeah, he is a talented actor. Raul Julia says, a bit behind. Didn't it turn out that Tony Stark was a Skrull during Civil War? I don't think so. I don't think he was a Skrull. I mean, maybe he was very briefly, but not long term. Anyway, that's not what I remember. I think they used it more as a sort of get-out-of-jail-free card for some of the characters that they'd killed off that they wanted to bring back, like Elektra. I'm sure that they had some semi-prominent Avengers revealed to have been Skrulls, but I can't remember off the top of my head anymore. But yeah, I realized that the last Avengers movie didn't exactly feature every hero, so I'm pretty sure that there are going to be some new characters that we get to see this time around, like Ant-Man and possibly Valkyrie, and who else did we not get to see in the last one? Hawkeye. Anyway, I think we'll get to see a few more characters that we didn't get to see in the Avengers 3 one. Geez, that's yeah. You know what? That comes out in May, doesn't it? That isn't that far away, actually. It's kind of cool to think about. But first we get Captain Marvel, then we, I guess, get Avengers 4, and then Spider-Man? Do I have that timeline right? Did Valkyrie survive? According to the commentary track, they said that it wasn't explicitly shown, but that most of the Asgardians were escorted to safety by Valkyrie, and that they just didn't have time to really build on that, but that, like, you know, you don't see her dead, so it's always fair to bring it back and explain it later, but in their minds, Valkyrie was responsible for basically escorting almost all the Asgardians to safety. So that makes sense. Yeah, I did, Preston. I did hear that James Gunn is going to do a Suicide Squad movie. I heard that it might not necessarily be a sequel, that it might just be its own thing. Guy Fella says Machine Man, please. I might do Machine Man because I am a huge fan of Jack Kirby's 2001 run. That is where Machine Man came from. I also really, really liked Next Wave, which used him. So I don't know. Those are two very different series, but I would like to talk about that. Jojo says, oh, I assumed they were all dead from what we saw. No, it was really just a couple warriors, a couple guards. Like, supposedly most of the Asgardians did escape. That would be a very depressing finale after Ragnarok, huh? Like that Thor just immediately failed right after saving everyone. So supposedly the majority of them escaped. That ship was massive, and we only saw like a small part of it. Anyway. Ever do a tropes discussion live vid or thought about doing one? No, but we're doing something like that right now. So, let's see. Korg was not in Infinity War. Yeah, exactly. He was with Valkyrie and the rest of the Asgardians, supposedly. Hey, since we're all sort of talking about things like drawing and that, I just thought of a question that I don't think has been posed to the rest of you all. What tools do you enjoy making art with? Like, what are your favorite brushes or pencils or digital platforms? Or, you know, if you make art like nail art or flower art, or you're a cook, like, what are your favorite things to work with? What do you feel most comfortable or happiest experimenting with? Because you've sort of seen what I tend to use. I'd be curious what you all enjoy working with. No answers yet. No answers. Okay. Maybe I've stumped everybody. I'm a pretty clever guy when I want to be. I'm a pretty clever guy. Alright. Mechanical pencil, cheap, superfine Sharpie. I don't want to go expensive because I can't afford it. Totally get that, Care Bear. Shelly says, I could see James Howlett will wind up being captured by Hydra instead of Bucky in Avengers 4, and Hydra tries to make him into the Winter Soldier, but probably things go horribly wrong. Yeah, I don't think the X-Men are quite going to make their debut anytime in the near future, because the Fox merger isn't exactly completely wrapped up yet. It's probably going to happen, but it isn't done yet. So I think we might have a year or two to wait for the Fantastic Four and the X-Men stuff to filter in. They might give us a tease or something, but I don't think that they're quite committing to big plans until they've finished all their contracts. You know, they don't want to risk going down the wrong path just for a contract to get scuttled and all of a sudden they can't use a character. That would be bad. But I don't know for sure, so you could be right. Uncanny Kodiak likes microns and cool blue erase Prisma pencils. Sure. How do you do says David Tennant, my favorite doctor. James Gleason says thumbnails are the easiest to draw. They help you sketch out ideas. Totally agree. Totally agree. Javon Miles says color erase pencils are the best, as well as Copic markers. Guy Fella says the brushes Eve Klein uses. Wink, wink. Okay, not familiar with that artist, I'm afraid. Sigmigs likes graphing paper to make pixel art. Jasper Hahn says Copic markers and fine liners are my favorite tools. Sometimes I use Tombows because you can get a variety of colors for cheap, unlike Copics. Yep, I've used all that. I like it. Django Fett says I have a drawing tab in Manga Studio on my computer. I've heard great things about Manga Studio. Haven't used it myself at this point. I would like to play around with it. I've heard really good things. I've watched some tutorials and it seems like it's capable of producing some really wonderful work and has some very helpful shortcuts for comic book artists. So I definitely see the advantage there. But I haven't used it myself at this point. What else? I can't afford Copic, says Uncanny Kodiak. Yeah, they're expensive. J. Andrew World says dip pen, brush, and translucent burnt umber ink on the Real Media side, and I love Autodesk Sketchbook. James Gleason says a light box. How do you do says, is that one of the robots from that time travel episode? Yeah, it's from that Doctor Who time travel episode. All I can say is every episode of Doctor Who is technically time travel. But this did focus a bit on time travel more than some episodes. It was called The Girl in the Fireplace, and there were clockwork robots that were made back in like sort of the Renaissance, and that were like operated with like gears and such. They typically had masks, but at one point they got unmasked, and I don't know exactly what they look like, but I'm just sort of doing the best I can. I remember it was a smaller glass head with a bunch of sort of gears and machinery inside. Wow, I had come home so tired, but I'm having a really good time talking to everybody, so it's kept me fairly alert and awake. I appreciate that. I still haven't had my dinner, so I'm starting to get pretty hungry, but I'll eat after this. Just ink for a little bit longer at least. Having a good time seeing your responses. Angel Kodo likes Copics. Chevron without Techron says, your quiet, whispery voice you're doing now reminds me of Bob Ross. Yeah, that's because I'm tired. So it's not quite as intense as I sometimes am. I'm a little more dreamlike and... yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, I guess. But thanks for bearing with me. What's the deal with drawing? I mean, it isn't real, so why do it? What's the deal? Perfect. Nailed it. Like I said, I can master any voice, any celebrity, any accent. That was my impression of Bill Cosby. What's the deal? I'm Bill Cosby. Yep, perfect. Nobody can nail it like that. Shelley says, would you like to see Rogue as the leader of X-Men in Marvel Cinematic Universe after she absorbs with part of Captain Marvel's powers? No, not really. Rogue never really did a lot for me. Or Storm? Yeah, Storm. Storm is cool. Yeah, let's see. Put a happy tree in the background. Maybe I will. Do you have a Stanley impression? Face front, true believers. This is Stan Lee. When last we left, we were looking at the Doctor, and today we're gonna finish that story in the mighty Marvel fashion. Excelsior! That's my Stan Lee impression. I don't know how good it is. Winsor & Newton brush markers are a good cheap alternative for Copics. That's totally true. Darnell Woodard says Photoshop. Brian A says, I am getting goosebumps. What do you mean, the movie or something? What are you going to see the Goosebumps movie? I am getting goosebumps. He must mean on DVD. He's gonna go get Goosebumps on DVD. Brian A wants us to know that he's a huge fan of Goosebumps. Such a big fan that he's actually planning on purchasing the film on DVD. It's interesting. I thought Rogue or Storm would make good leaders of X-Men. Storm definitely has. I can't think of any good stories I've read with Rogue as the leader, but maybe. Stan Lee used to narrate Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Yup. I thought you were doing Jerry Seinfeld and not Bill Cosby. Oh, is that what you thought? No. This is a perfect impression of Bill Cosby. If I was doing Jerry Seinfeld, it would be a... Oh, it's hard being Bill Cosby. Oh, this is Bill Cosby. Oh, it's hard being a mastodon, Deborah. So that's my perfect Bill Cosby impression. Chris, it's great when your streams start when I get up. Good morning. Do you think Batman's character should have evolved, like dying or permanently changing in some ways? Not really. I don't think that, like, in general, that's what the goal of a serialized comic book is. It's written to only be read for a certain amount of time and then have the reader move on. You can tell all sorts of different stories with them. If you want to tell something where they evolve or die, that's what things like Dark Knight Returns and Elseworlds are for. So you're totally capable of telling those stories, but I don't think it makes sense to end a character that's essentially designed to be a pulp, ongoing, serialized character. There are inherent limits to them, but then there's also inherent potential for constant rebirth and reimagining. So that's my take. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh, it's Bill Cosby. Oh, do a Kramer voice. The name's Kramer. Cosmo Kramer. Why didn't you draw one of the Silents, a Dalek or a Cyberman? Was this a personal preference or something else? It was because the prompt for today was clock. So that got me thinking of Doctor Who, and then I tried to be more specific, and I thought of the clockwork robots. That's why I'm drawing them. And it's fun, because I've drawn Daleks and Cybermen and stuff like that before, and I felt like drawing something different, basically. So yes, in a sense, it is personal preference. And Jojo asks, did I ever watch the Cosby cartoon on Channel 101? Of course. I've been a fan of Justin Roiland since forever. That was definitely one of the first things that he did that I saw. Big fan of House of Cosby's. I'm Curiosity Cosby, you see. Theo, I'm Bathtub Cosby. And that's all there is to it. Yup, great show. Great. And an early instance of Cosby showing us all that he was actually kind of a dick. Because he sent a cease and desist over a pretty innocent online cartoon that was not really making money, just entertaining people. But Cosby was like, no. I don't like it. And I think he was wrong, personally. That's me, Chris, speaking. I think he was wrong to think like that. I think House of Cosby's is a fantastic cartoon. Do you enjoy any superhero web serial, Worm, Brennis, Wheatley Academy, or anything else like that? I'm afraid I don't know any of those. What did everyone else draw for Inktober? I drew Flavor Flav. Sure. Good night, Chevron. Hello, Creeper351. Hello, Rosanna Man. Wow, I hope I've greeted everybody that's come in. There's a chance I've missed you. And if so, well, just rest easy knowing that someday I'll go to hell and suffer for all eternity. So in a way, you win. So if I didn't say your name, you've always got that in your back pocket to remember. Like, hey, you know, it was kind of rude of Chris not to catch that I came into the stream, but at least he's going to hell and he'll be tormented forever, so I kind of feel better now. Anyway, just trying to be fair and remind you that I'm definitely going to hell at some point. Because anybody that does terrible impressions just doesn't deserve to keep going on. I think we're all on the same page there. See, Jerry Seinfeld, Bill Cosby, and Ray Romano all walk into a bar. And the bartender says, Whoa, 3 big celebrities. Sure didn't expect to see you guys tonight. Goes a little something like that. See ya, Jasper. Thanks for dropping in. Hello, Mikey. Jesus. Oh, hell is good. Okay. I guess you could say that when something is finished, it's a draw. Are you a dad? Are you a dad? That's a pretty dad joke. That's a pretty big dad joke, Creeper351. Somebody with a name in Japanese that I cannot read says, watch hell not be real, and then all those people have no redemption. Oh, is that how it works? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I'm sure I don't know. No, I'm just a very punny guy. Oh, creeper. In this joke scenario, did Cosby bust out of prison? No, in this joke scenario, Seinfeld and Romano busted him out of prison. A priest, a rabbi, and a minister walk into a bar. The bartender says, what's this, some sort of joke? What did you think about Netflix's Death Note adaptation? Did not care for it. Did not care for it. I liked the live-action duology, the 2 movies that were made in Japan several years back for the live-action Death Note movie. I liked that adaptation. Was expecting something along those lines for the Netflix version. Didn't get it. I don't think that they got the characters right. I think that they broke their own rules a few times and arbitrarily made up a couple new ones that didn't really pay off. So, short version, didn't think it was awesome. Didn't think it was awesome. Was definitely expecting more out of Adam Wingard, who's done at least some good stuff. Didn't he do You're Next? Because that movie was good. Pretty sure he did You're Next. Me and my crummy memory. I'm just obviously having fun with sort of little weird details and texture and stuff. I would say that in a way this drawing is done, but I'll just do a little bit more inking on this robot head, and then I've been having fun dropping in the gray Copic washes, so I'll probably do that too. And then I'll be done. The Japanese movies were awesome. That ending, wow. Ever read Gon by Masahide Tanaka? No, I haven't. I've heard of it. Haven't read it. Did you guys hear that one of the cast of Smallville was recruiting people for a sex slavery cult? Yeah, we all heard about it. She got arrested for it. I don't think that was... Hello, Zan. Zan Moff is here. Tell me your thoughts on the first 2 Fantastic Four films and the reboot. None of them are very good. The reboot was definitely the worst, though. Like, that was way too dark and misguided for Fantastic Four. Didn't care for that. They wasted a very good cast, actually, now that I think of it. Like, all of those cast members, very, very good. Didn't think that they had any decent material behind them to support that. As far as the other 2, you know, they're light and they're fun-ish. I kind of liked the second one with the Silver Surfer, but I didn't love it. It was not exactly what I wanted out of a Fantastic Four movie. But I thought the cast was fairly likable in terms of positive. I've never really had a desire to go back and rewatch them. So, I suppose overall, like, not a huge fan. But the reboot one, the most recent Fantastic Four movie, I tried to watch that on an airplane. Like, I was stuck on a plane and I still couldn't get through it. Like, you know, there was nothing else to really do, and I was literally so bored, I gave up by the third act. Somewhere around the time Doctor Doom, you know, came into the world and started causing trouble, I was just like, I don't care. I've gotten this far hoping for like some sort of big special effectsy fight finale, but you know what? I just don't care. Whoa! Mikey Jesus, thank you so much. Let's see. $5 for rental of your Clark Kent table joke from a past stream. I got so many giggles from a coworker. And her phone number. Mikey, well played. Well played. A nice joke now and then can really serve well as an icebreaker. Good luck. Hope that goes well for both of you. I feel like I love jokes. I love, like, you know, just simple setup punchline stuff. I'm terrible at remembering them. I can remember various like stand-up comedians jokes, but that's like very personal proprietary type stuff that you don't really want to like, that would be plagiarism to just like tell their jokes. But I'm bad at remembering, you know, just a joke off the street type thing. Well, that's awesome. Let's see. Russell Duffer says something about the Clark Kent joke. Let's see. Chris hit these guys with the joke. You want to hear the joke again? Alright, it's not going to be too funny to most people since you've already heard it. It's a pretty simple joke. Okay. Clark Kent comes home from work. He's tired. He's had a long day at the Daily Bugle. He takes a seat in the kitchen at the kitchen table, takes off his glasses, rubs his eyes, folds his glasses up, puts them down on the table. Lois Lane walks into the room and says, "Is that our kitchen table? I don't recognize it." A dad had to have written that joke. That's, How do you tie a noose? I don't know. S. Foes, how do you tie a noose? Hope you enjoyed hearing me tell the same joke the same way again. Probably not. Maybe it's new to a couple people. I don't know if it's that funny twice. But I can't think of any jokes that I've heard recently. I'm just terrible at remembering that stuff. When it comes to jokes, I really personally don't get offended by anything. But I also don't find everything funny. I, in general, find brutal honesty to be funny, and I find it funny when something is taking the high status person down a peg as compared to picking on someone that's low status. So jokes that are based on like somebody's race or gender or sexual preference, generally, I don't find those too funny. Now, you could tell a funny story in which that comes into play, no question. There's tons of comedians that do a fantastic job. But I'm just saying, like, a simple sort of street joke, however you want to call it, I generally don't find that funny to sort of take down somebody that's low status. So hopefully you know what I'm talking about. What are people talking about? Daily Bugle. You must be tired. Oh, did I say Daily Bugle? Did I mess up? Did I say Daily Bugle instead of Daily Planet? That's funny. I didn't realize I did that. Dad jokes are great. Yeah. Okay. My daughter asked why I made bad jokes, and I said, when you were born, I had to tell 3 dad jokes. I kept going, and they kept offering me more babies. Interesting. Wow. Is that how it works? Okay. Yeah, give me a second. I'll lay in a little bit of color on at least the robot, and then we'll see where things go from there. Wow. Wow. That looks like one of the robots from an episode of The $6 Million Man. Yeah, most of the episode, these robots don't look like this. They look like, well, they look like automatons, but that are dressed in, like, you know, French Renaissance type clothing. And then, it turns out their masks can just sort of pop off, and underneath is just all machinery. Whee! Are there questions here? How do you think that MCU will fit Deadpool into the MCU? I don't think that they will. Not anytime soon. I don't think they will. I think a big part of why Fox might be re-releasing Deadpool 2 this holiday season as PG-13 might be because it might be their last chance to do a Deadpool movie. I think that there's a chance that that's it. You know, 2 movies, and that might be it. Which would be too bad. They are pretty entertaining. They're pretty well done. They're pretty funny. But I think that there's a very good chance that we've seen 2 movies, and that might be all we get. Anybody disagree with me? I know I know Disney likes to make money, but I just don't think it fits with their brand right now. They might not be against the idea down the road. I just don't think that I don't think that they're going to make Deadpool movies right now. I think they do want everything to sort of be on the same page and line up. Hello, Brooms Faulty and Jeremy Pinkham. Draw me like one of your French automatons. I like that. I don't think they're really going to change Deadpool for the MCU, says James Gleason. Well, maybe. Sorry for asking if it was already stated, but what is your favorite David Tennant Doctor Who episode? Probably Blink. Probably Blink, even though he's not in that one a lot. Some of my favorite David Tennant episodes were ones where the Doctor wasn't in it that much. I also really liked Turn Left. But if we're going for one that had him in it, I liked whatever the 2-parter was with the Cybermen versus the Daleks. That was pretty terrific. And I really liked Midnight, where everybody is stuck in just a I don't know what to call it, just like a car, a big car, like a bunch of tourists are in a big sort of futuristic van. I like that one. liked, was it called Silence in the Library with David Tennant, or was that the Matt Smith one? I really can't remember now. That was good. There were lots of good ones. He definitely became a little bit more of like a superhero type of character under Russell T Davies, but honestly, it was also quite charming. Yeah, I very much liked David Tennant as the Doctor. Very much liked him. Disney loved making money. That's fair enough. Hello, Goku. A space tram? Yeah, I guess you could call it a space tram for that movie. I mean the episode Midnight. How do you do says that I was right. Silence in the Library was David Tennant. Okay. Have you read any issues of the Terrifics? Asks Darnell. I haven't. I've heard that it's pretty cool, but no, haven't read any. Don't know when I'm gonna have time to like really catch up on the comics of today. I'd love to, but I don't know. Question mark? Coloring things with these Copics are an absolute blast. I wish they weren't so expensive. They are really fun to deal with. And I really enjoyed just working in this sort of black and white world. I've always liked black and white comics. I don't know how you all feel about them, but you know, I grew up with a huge boom in black and white comics. I was discovering stuff like The Tick and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a little bit of Cerebus, a little bit of Usagi Yojimbo, various things from companies like First and Pacific, and it was just really cool to sort of, I don't know, get a sense of stuff aside from just Spider-Man and Superman and that. So yeah, the mid-'80s were a really cool time for discovering cool black and white comics. I've always enjoyed them. I've always enjoyed like the sort of coloring techniques for them with things like Zipatone. Yeah. What are some good black and white comics these days? I mean, obviously Walking Dead sells well, but I'm trying to think of like what else is black and white. Obviously manga, but are there any other good American comics that are coming out these days that are black and white? I'd be curious to. I'm trying to think of like something, and nothing's coming to me off the top of my head. I can't wait to see the new Doctor Who. Very excited for that. Love Doctor Who. Have you seen Adam Hughes demos with a Copic? Amazeballs. No, I haven't. I would very much like to see that. I'll see if anything's on YouTube. That would be cool. Were you ever a John Pertwee fan? And if so, are we going to see a nice Pertwee Who in a sick purple crushed velvet smoking jacket? Asks Son of a Red Shirt. I do appreciate John Pertwee. I'm not sure if that's something that I would do this this Inktober just because I've already sort of done something Doctor Who related now, but never say never. I'm not really planning ahead too much, and so it all depends on what strikes me for inspiration on any given day. And that's part of the challenge that I'm just sort of issuing to myself is not to plan ahead so that I can stay loose and just keep working on things. So never say never. I don't know. Is Stray Bullets still black and white? Stray Bullets. Good one. I've definitely got to review and discuss that at some point. Sin City? Yeah, but they're not still making Sin City. I'm trying to think of things that are like currently coming out. That's what I'm trying to think of for like, you know, like a black and white comic. Nothing's coming to my head right off the top of it. But maybe there's something out there. Let's see, that's a 3. I want the 2. Thank you, Peter Svat. That's very nice of you. Power Man and Iron Fist number 79 had the Doctor kind of cameo. Yeah, I reviewed that one on my channel, so definitely know about that one. Oh, I think that more or less does it. Well, here, let me just do a couple little areas on this. But I'm basically done, folks. I think I'm about to sign off. I've had a really fun time chatting with everybody tonight. I hope you had an okay time. I hope I got to your question. If I didn't, I really wasn't ignoring you. Maybe it got answered by one of your fellow viewers in the chat. That would be nice. Seems like you all talk to each other about this kind of stuff, so it's an opportunity for people with just similar interests to talk. Yeah. But I'm going to just wrap this up in a second. I'll take one last look in a second at the chat room just to make sure I'm not missing anything huge. And I'm going to take off. I'm really grateful again for everybody being here. Let's see. Cool, you said my last name correctly. Not many can. Ooh, oh, now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm all like, now I don't know exactly what I said. I wasn't thinking about it, and I got it right by not thinking about it. So I'll try not to think about it. Hopefully, if I ever need to say your name again, I still get it right. That would be good. That would be good. Well, there we go. Yeah. That is the 10th Doctor and a Clockwork Robot. Oh, wow. John Dillard Gaming the System says, my black and white comic book, Black Emerald, it's on Indiegogo right now. So for $2, he just got a pretty darn good plug, I think. Thank you for the super chat. That's nice. James Gleason's talking about like the old Warren titles that were black and white. I would love to talk about those sometime soon. Yeah, thank you all for joining me. This was a blast. Looking forward to tomorrow. I'll see hopefully most of you then. probably going to be a similar kind of time. And then the day after that, Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm hoping to do it much earlier in the day, which I know might not work for all of you, but hopefully that gives some people that haven't been able to make these very late streams an opportunity to jump in. So I'm all over the place for the whole month. All right, folks, you were great. Thanks for putting up with my sort of stuttering and stuff as I'm tired. It was kind of you. I had a great time, and until tomorrow, keep reading comics.